Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3 has arrived with a season finale. After last week's reveal of a brand new Texas-class starship, we knew this would be the episode focus. Also, we've got to deal with Ensign Mariner no longer being a part of the crew. Both of these plot points are explored in the season finale of the hit animated show. So how does the episode hold up, and where does it leave us for the future of the series? Here's our full review. Oh, and we're talking about the end credits scene. Therefore, spoiler warning, we're discussing this episode in full detail like always. So be warned, there may be spoilers here for you. Welcome to Trek Central. I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get into it. I'm wearing a jumper by the way, it's freezing in here, but oh well. And before we warp into this video, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. But as always, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, we want to hear about it. Okay? Engage. I should technically just say warp me, shouldn't I? It's more appropriate. The cold opening of this episode is all about how superior the Texas class is to the California class, especially when it comes to completing missions on time. However, as revealed in the episode, the automated ship is incapable of the human factor of taking things in, such as the Prime Directive. The Texas class starship was one of the best things to come of the last episode, and getting a focus on it with the season finale was fantastic. Personally, I wish we'd spent more time understanding and seeing it, maybe the arrival over 2 more episodes or a few more. Had it been around since episode 6 or something like that, the justification of shutting down the California class ship lines would have been more impactful to the viewer. Now Lower Decks does try and tell self-contained stories per episode, but it is evident from this episode that a lot of what's happened in the 3rd season has been deliberately set up by Admiral Buonamigo, such as the crew's visit to Deep Space Nine. I've got to commend the end of the episode. Seeing all of the California class starships coming together to save the day was fantastic. Especially when you realise we've seen some of these crews in various Lower Decks episodes over the past 3 seasons, such as the USS Carlsbad. Oh, and we also get the ending of T'Lyn transferring to the USS Cerritos. Some of you may remember this character from season 2, and many have been asking for her appearance. Looking at our crew in this episode, part of me feels like they did not have much to do or a certain task for them. It was sort of added to involve them. Take Ensign Tendi. This is a frequent issue with Lower Decks, where it sometimes feels like it isn't enough for her to do, and therefore her storyline is left to the side with no progression at all. In this episode, her meaningful element slows down the mission to check for alien life. It's a very Starfleet thing to do, and does eventually prove valuable in Freeman's defense of the California class. However, Ensign Rutherford discovering the Texas class was using stolen code he had designed. Therefore, Tendi's mission component is put to the side again, and was just a way to slow things down overall. Rutherford would have still discovered the code, regardless of whether they slowed down or not. The season finale certainly moves to set up elements of the upcoming 4th season, whether that be introducing Tendi's study buddy, T'Lyn, which might mean more character depth for Tendi, so I don't know. Let's talk specifics about episode 10 and see where it goes from there. So Mariner eventually returned to the Cerritos in this episode. Personally, I don't see the whole story point of her leaving. Yes, it kinda makes sense for her to return and rejoin the crew, but the whole plot element for the last episode feels kinda useless. But you do see her coming to terms with her wanting to still be in Starfleet, wanting to still have purpose in her life while she so desperately craves it. While hunting artifacts Petra is cool, it's not her life's work or mission. She does eventually return to Starfleet and the Cerritos. However, there is an element I like where she was trying to find out who was funding the archaeology digs, and it turns out it's none other than Admiral Picard himself. It's a neat little reference, one of many Picard name drops and callouts in Season 3, for the whole series of Lower Decks as well. Let's not forget Season 3 did start with Ensign Boimler being on a grape plantation, which is obviously a callback to wine plantations, or vineyards. I don't know. The episode and season end with Mariner in the same place where she began 10 weeks ago. This might be the issue of Star Trek Lower Decks, character progression and growth. Our characters are essentially confined to the Lower Decks, because that is the show's name. They can't go on to become captains right now, as it would sort of change the dynamic and setting of the whole series we find ourselves in. There is character growth, but not in a physical sense of where they are going or where they are. Now Lower Decks does fail to address Mariner and Jennifer's relationship in this episode. Much like last week where it felt like it was tossed to the side in favour of getting Mariner off of the ship, the whole episode does not touch on it this week with her returning. We do get one sort of side-eye glance from Jennifer, but it's hardly much to write about. I get the show isn't about relationships, and we don't want there being the whole storyline around it, but still, you think some acknowledgement of it would go well. I guess Jennifer looking up is the acknowledgement we kind of wanted and sought, but I don't know, it just kind of felt like we could do more. Now it is finally revealed that Admiral Buonamigo is the person who erased Ensign Rutherford's memory. Can I just say I'm really proud I've got Admiral Buonamigo's pronunciation correct there. That took quite long to get that right. So yes, he erased Ensign Rutherford's memory and fitted him with the implant. Additionally, he programmed the Texas class with the same AI code that Badgie was coded with. However, the defining moment of the episode is for me when the Admiral tried to force the ship to attack Los Cerritos, which backfired and got him killed. Though seeing Douglas Station getting carved up by the 3 Texas class starships featured some great action sequences for the episode. I mean, seeing the space station's defenses pop up and try and attack the other ships was cool. It does give us an idea of how these stations defend themselves in the Star Trek universe. The USS Van Sitter's coming to rescue is an excuse to see another Sovereign class starship. However, some of you might not know that the ship is named after a Paramount Global employee named John Van Sitters, whose role at the company is Vice President of Star Trek Brand Development. He's been in this role and similar ones for many years now. Finally, I think the destruction of the Texas class proves that Starfleet should not do automated ships anytime soon. However, we all know that this does not end here. Starfleet will again attempt automated ships in the future years, which is close to Lower Decks' timeline placement. I'm talking about the events in Star Trek Picard Season 1 during the flashback sequences which shows the destruction of Utopia Planitia shipyards. Well done, Starfleet. Lower Decks included a post-credit sequence for this episode. It shows an unknown alien starship with a green tractor beam recovering Ensign Rutherford's original implant. This, of course, still contains the original code and framework for Badgie, the evil AI that was shown in Season 1 of Lower Decks. Therefore, I think we should expect this maniac of an AI to appear in the upcoming Season 4 eventually. If I had to guess and make speculation, I mean of course I do, this is Trek Central, I do wonder if he'll do something with the AIs locked up by Starfleet in the Daystrom Institute. Just saying. That's my speculation for Season 4, we'll see if I'm wrong in a year's time. So conclusion wise, overall this episode was enjoyable as a season finale for Lower Decks. It moved rather fast and jumped on itself at a few points, but overall, it flowed nicely. Especially seeing multiple elements of Starfleet missions through the mission race between ships. I do appreciate the reference to Starfleet Badmiral's vibe with Admiral Buonamigo. Also, we could compare him to the whole USS Pegasus instance situation. A writer Dom compared that last week, and it kind of turned out true in a sense. However, I still have one of my original issues with the 3rd season. It still feels like Lower Decks is currently playing it rather safe when it comes to the storytelling department. We've previously had episodes that have pushed the boat far in the actions and words. However, with the episodes of Season 3, they felt kind of normal and just not reaching that far for Star Trek overall. I'm sure some of you understand what I mean by this, especially as we've touched on it a few times over the course of the 3rd season so far. I will say that Lower Decks has increased in graphic quality so much. If you compare where this animated show started in 2020, that was a long time ago, to where we are now in 2022, it's beautiful. Building onto this, the music for Lower Decks continues to excel the show. Chris Westlake has done a fantastic job in making the soundtrack as a callback to the Next Generation, but also standing on its own 2 feet simultaneously. I think overall Lower Decks continues to do a great job being delightful and fun. It's always a fun part of our week to watch this episode and review it. I'm looking forward to what's coming up in the 4th season of Lower Decks, likely landing sometime in 2023. Don't forget that this week also sees the return of the other Star Trek animated series, Star Trek Prodigy. It returns for the next 10 episodes, which is the second half of Season 1. You can find new episodes on Paramount Plus, but do check over on TrekCentral.net as we've got a recap article if you need a refresher on what is coming up. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. But for now, I've been Captain Jack. Thank you for joining me over the past 9 to 10 weeks, I wasn't here 1 week, for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3. It's always a pleasure to bring these reviews to you, and I cannot wait to share the next 10 weeks with you as we do Star Trek Prodigy if you're joining us there. If not, we'll see you sometime next year for more Star Trek Lower Decks. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.